Hey everyone. So I don't know if any of you noticed, but I kind of have some explaining to do to you guys. The past week and the week before that, I've kind of been a little off point with my uploads. So usually I upload to YouTube Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 3:45 p.m. Eastern time. Long story short, I guess if any of you guys follow me on Instagram and you've seen my story, you've probably seen like a video or maybe a photo of me like either skating in a gym, or maybe there's like this big inflatable earth in a gym, or I'm doing some weird science stuff in a school gym. And that's because for the past 8 years, I was an independent contractor for a company that would host school assemblies all across the country. And my region was Maine to South Carolina and west to the Michigan line. And they gave me a car for like 7 years, and I would drive like 100,000 business miles a year and always be in a hotel Monday to Friday in a different city, a different state, different school every day. I'm not a teacher. I didn't go to college. I actually got hired with them because they have a skateboarding assembly, and I got the contract through AJ Cohn, who owns One Skateboards. He hooked me up with the job. For the first 4 years I worked for them, I would skateboard in their school assemblies. And then I found out that they were offering to pay me double to not skate at 8 o'clock in the morning and instead present and host geography and science assemblies that were their programs. After 8 years of working there, it was a really great job, and it was how I provided myself, a living. Then COVID hit, and that job pretty much was killed by COVID. I mean, the schools were closed for 2 years. I didn't make any money those 2 years. The CEO of the company stepped down, a new guy stepped in, and honestly, just working for that new guy was a nightmare. He had never done the job before, so all like the routing and the scheduling was all sorts of messed up. I didn't really feel respected there anymore, and I just wasn't getting any joy out of the job anymore. So about a month ago, I quit that job, sent them like my letter of resignation. 2 weeks ago, I started a new job at a dispensary in Lawrence, New Jersey. So I'm a bud tender now. I haven't had to work like a 40-hour-a-week job where I like have to be at a place in like 8 years. So I've just been having like a really hard time kind of like adjusting to it. Like by the time I get out of work, it's like 6:30. By the time I get anywhere to skate, it's like 7. I only have like, an hour and a half at that point to skate. So I'm still just trying to adjust to like having to be on a schedule, and it is cutting into my skate time just a little bit. And every day that I have been skating after work, I've, just not been really filming YouTube stuff. I've just been skating for me. But today I'm off work, so I definitely plan to get a video done for you guys, and hopefully one of my homies shows up because I'm trying to get some lines filmed here too. feel like I should have did this like 10 minutes ago. All right, good.
Easy. Thanks for sticking that out with me, dude.
Hey, you know I got you.
Sweating, man.
I got you, bro. Always.
Sheesh.
And that was right after you just got done talking about, I should have got this 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Look at you.
I know this might age me a little bit by saying this, but I was trying that line. I slammed on my hip really hard, and my hip hurts.
So I wanted to let you guys on a little secret, something that I've learned about board sizes and dimensions and how they specifically cater to your height, your weight, and your shoe size. And I've learned like a lot of different things that are sort of like trade secrets in skateboarding because I've been a skateboarder for 22 years. Just like along the way, I've had conversations and met people that are involved in product development and things like that in the industry. And the stuff that I've picked up from them, when I applied it to my skateboarding, it made the world of difference. A lot of these things, like instead of learning them more recently, I wish I would have learned it like 20 something odd years ago, because these small adjustments became like game changers for me in my skateboarding. Hang on, my oven just beeped. Yeah, it's not delivery, it's dinner, and it's DiGiorno. This like trade secret about board sizes is something that I learned when I was 29, and I wish I had learned it when I was much younger, because it made a lot of different flip tricks, specifically 360 flips, and also just flipping into different grinds and slides a whole lot easier, so much easier for me that it almost felt like, dude, this is a skate hack. And I just saw a comment on a video that I posted not too long ago, and somebody said something along the lines of, oh, what made you go down in your board size? What size are you riding now, and how did you get there? I used to ride an 8.5 board. And specifically, like where I grew up in New Jersey, right? The older dudes here, the skate scene here, not the smartest. Everybody would go around saying like, don't use wax, just go faster, and like, oh, ride a bigger board because that's a man's board. But like, if you aren't big enough to fit a bigger board, you shouldn't ride one, because it is gonna make it harder for you to manipulate. So I'm 5'8", I'm 150 pounds soaking wet, and I have a size 9 shoe. An 8.5 is way too big for me. And 2 years ago, I was in California with my friend Caesar, skating Tustin Skate Park. Caesar works for the X Games, so he also invited Kelvin Hofler to come skate with us. And I had a really awesome session with Kelvin. He was super cool to me. We had a really good conversation. Obviously, Kelvin is like one of the best skateboarders in the world. He's an Olympic skateboarder. He competes in the X Games and Street League and all that awesome stuff. But when I was watching him skate, like at Tustin, there's a really big handrail that goes down. But right across from it, there's like a smaller handrail, but it is not small by any means. It's still pretty big. And I watched Kelvin kickflip into basically every single grind and slide known to man, literally first try. Like kickflip backside 50-50, kickflip 5-0, kickflip crook, kickflip front board, kickflip back lip, kickflip back smith, kickflip back over crook. He did kickflip backtail big spin first try. And those are just some of the tricks that I watched him do. And I remember we had a conversation and I was asking him like, dude, like how did you get your kickflips so dialed like that you could just flick them in any direction and they're always going to be where you want them to be? And he was watching me skate too, so he was like, dude, like what size board do you ride? And I was like, I ride an 8.5. And he said back to me like, dude, that's really impressive, like your kickflips are really strong. I ride a 7.75. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, like, how the fuck do you think I do that flip in, flip out shit, man? And I was like, well, true. And it got me thinking, like, you know, when I go back to Jersey, I'm gonna start switching down sizes in boards. And eventually I worked my way down from an 8.5 to an 8.25 and then an 8-inch. And that made the world of difference because obviously flipping a board, the board would flip a lot faster, and also manipulating it to go in different directions and aiming it to be where I want it to be would take a lot less effort from me. But another thing was the wheelbase. So I used to ride an 8.5 with like a 14.5-inch wheelbase. When AJ Cohn gave me a pro model skateboard on one, I'll show it to you, this is it. He gave me a 14-inch wheelbase, which means from this hole all the way up to that hole is 14 inches. That was a game changer. That was the first time in my life, I think, that I had a 14-inch wheelbase. And all of a sudden I noticed that like my kick flips and my tray flips were becoming way more dialed and way more automatic for me. Once I started riding like an 8-inch board with the 14-inch wheelbase, that's when I got really comfortable with more flip in and flip out tricks. And you know, One Skateboards, they make many different boards with a 14-inch wheelbase. The pattern boards, this one and the other honeycomb and diamond shaped one in specific, those have a 14-inch wheelbase. But One Skateboards also makes a 14.5-inch wheelbase. So I'm 5'8", remember that. But if I was 6'1" or, you know, a little taller than that, I should ride a 14.5-inch wheelbase because it caters to my height. Shane Coville, he's a little bit taller than me. So he rides a 14.5-inch wheelbase. One Skateboards makes the one-way model, which it just says one really big across the whole board. And that's a 14.5-inch wheelbase. The last time I was over at the Skateboard Academy, I snagged one of those boards. And when I put it on, I immediately noticed that something was way off with my tray flips. And kick flipping into different grinds and slides wasn't feeling so comfortable for me. And I remember I like went back to AJ and I was like, dude, like what's up with this board? And he was like, yeah, that's a 14.5-inch wheelbase. I thought you knew that when you grabbed it. And I was like, no. And then he, you know, put me back on a 14-inch wheelbase. But these are just things like, you know, I learned them so late in life. And I feel like skateboarders don't talk about and share these things enough. Though I just want to let you guys in on it. A little trade secret. If you're around my height, like, you know, 5'6" to like, you know, 5'11", 6 foot, and you don't ride a 14-inch wheelbase, it might be something you might want to consider. It could help out your skill and what you're trying to do on a board a lot more.